All right, we are live. Welcome to the B-side for January 2020, the first B-side of the year. Before I get into a more comfortable position, I just wanted to make sure I showed off this incredible Aphex Twin shirt that I found on his site. I didn't really find it. I purchased it. But I love it. Cool color. Whatever it may be, now I'm going to descend a little further down in the frame, and you're not going to see the whole thing. Just wanted to show it off now. In the B-side this month, I'm going to tell you about the albums I heard this month that I was a huge fan of. I'm going to tell you, that's a spoiler. You don't know I'm a huge fan, but I just told you. And I have some news, a little bit of news, and then a ton of records behind me that I'm going to be showing off, including a grail from my grail list. So very excited to dive into this one. This one's going to be fun. Welcome, everybody. We are going to be doing chat and Q&A after I get through all the content, because this lives as a regular video and people can, stay for the last part or not. But here we go. Let's get started. The albums that I heard this month. The first one was 070 Shake Modus Vivendi, or Vivendi. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. If you're unfamiliar with 070 Shake, she blew onto the scene with the Wyoming projects with Kanye. She was featured on Nasir, Daytona, and Yay with Ghost Town. Ghost Town was like the iconic, the song that kind of like got everyone into 070 Shake. Her vocals are absolutely unique in their own way, and this was her first album that she dropped, and I gotta say, I really liked this album on first listen. It reminded me of the first time that I heard Billie Eilish's album, and not because they sound the same, but they really are indescribable genre-wise. Like, there's obviously influences from trap and from hip-hop and from soul, but ultimately the sound is something she's carved out for herself very specifically, and I gotta say, I am a huge fan of what she's done. If you haven't heard Modus Vivendi yet, I recommend getting on it, because this girl's going places with or without Kanye, and I'd like to say that this is a stellar debut that is worth your time. So I have the signed vinyl pre-order ready to be received. I don't know when they're shipping it. I don't even know if the site still has it. I'm assuming the signed is gone, but I could be wrong. So 070 Shake Modus Vivendi. All right. I see Ryan ask, is Mike here? Mike has not been in a live stream for a while. He's been MIA, which is a huge bummer for many reasons. But all right, the next album that I'm going to be talking about is Caspian on Circles. So if we have any post-rock fans in the house, if you're not familiar with the term post-rock, just to give you a heads up, that is music that tends to be sweeping, instrumental, very little to no lyrics, that tells a story with the instruments. And some of the bigger names in the scene are Godspeed You Black Emperor, Explosions in the Sky. Sigur Rós is occasionally considered post-rock, even though I don't technically consider them post-rock. And Caspian has been consistently one of my favorite artists in the genre since their first album. I think what they've done with the genre has made it their own, and they've stayed true to the post-rock sound without straying too far experimentally, but managed to stay interesting album to album, because I feel like a lot of post-rock albums, in my opinion, are a little boring, and they all kind of sound similar if you get to the meat and potatoes of it and try to compare them, at least for the names that aren't quite as big as, the big guys I just mentioned. Caspian's On Circles is their latest release, and honestly, when I was about to go listen to it, I wasn't even in a post-rock mood. I thought to myself, man, I was like, something about listening to a post-rock album right now, it's not really doing it for me, but I decided to give it a chance anyway, and as usual, these guys really knocked my socks off. It's a really emotive journey, and it doesn't sound like anything they've done before. There's a track on there with a really awesome singer. I think the guy from Piano's Become the Teeth, which is a band I'm not really into. It's a little too much of the post-hardcore stuff for me, but his voice is excellent, and he sings beautifully on that track. But I don't own this yet, but I'm going to be picking up a variant very soon, because I was really, really impressed by this. Unfortunately, I haven't listened to anything else this month, so that was all I heard of albums that came out, unless I'm forgetting one. So let's jump to the next section, which is news. The news is pretty much all circulating around the record label. As you guys hopefully know, I do have a record label. And as you hopefully know, I love it when you smash the like button on this live stream, because then YouTube will see engagement and they'll be like, wow, we should promote this guy. And I work really hard, so that would be awesome. So make sure you hit the like button. But moving on to the news, TMR3, which is a Cosmic Gift Field Notes, is actually going to be shipping now. People are getting their shipping notifications as of maybe 3 days ago. I'm waiting for the first one to land. I'm extremely excited to see it myself, because the artwork files, I submitted all them, and I heard the test pressing. It sounds amazing, but I haven't seen the final product of the disc, and I haven't seen what the art looks like fully actualized onto a jacket. So very, very excited for TMR3 to ship. TMR4, Nacho Picasso and Blue Sky Black Death Exalted, is actually going to be test pressinged soon. So I should be getting the test pressings in about a week or two, I'm hoping. And as soon as I have the test pressings, I will be announcing, or as soon as I approve the test pressings, I'm assuming they're going to sound great. Crates has not let me down thus far. I am going to be announcing the follow-up, TMR5, which I have said in my Facebook group, if you're following it, it is a cinematic folk album. And I really think you guys are going to dig it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful album. And I'm personally pretty close to it. So I'm excited to drop that. I'm already working with some updated art for the album. And I think it's going to be another smash hit. So I think we're starting off the year strong with TMR5. I'll be announcing that soon. If you aren't in my TMR Facebook group, I recommend doing so. We have over 1,000 people in there just talking music every day. It's a really healthy, good community, unlike some other Facebook communities that are unfortunately a little toxic from what I can tell. The TMR fan community is awesome. So that is the news. Let's jump into records, because I have a ton behind me to show off. Can I get a little bit? Oh, that's a little tease. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the grails. As you guys know, I did have a video talking about my 7 grails that I'm trying to get this year, and I've actually knocked off a couple thus far. I thought it would be more than a couple. I thought it would be a few, but there's a funny story behind that. So the first thing I'll tell is the funny story. The second thing I'll show off is the grail. So the funny story is someone who watches this channel, one of the homies, he reached out to me and he said, hey, I saw your grail video. I just want to let you know that I just sniped an auction on eBay, and I managed to get a copy of Frank Ocean's Blonde for $250. Now, that sounds crazy to some of you, but if you saw that, if you saw the prices that Blonde goes for on a regular basis, it's usually closer to $400 or $500, especially for a near mint copy. So I was like, wow, I'm very jealous, sir. And he said, you know what? I saw your video. I know you said you would spend $200 on Blonde. I will sell this to you for $200. And I lost my mind. I was like, I can't believe it. I'm actually going to get to rectify my mistake of not pre-ordering Frank Ocean's Blonde. That's great. I can't wait. Unfortunately, he sent the record, and unbeknownst to him, it was not the official pressing of Blonde. It was a very, very convincing bootleg. The reason that I knew it was a bootleg, it was the black cover, which is actually rare. A lot of the boots have a white cover. But on the back cover, it said on the bottom, no promotion, for promotion only. There was also no XL label logo anywhere, whether it was on the spine or the back. None of that. And the discs themselves had the wrong runouts in the matrix. So all of those are ways to check if you have an official pressing. Definitely always check the matrix runout. Check all the little pieces of the spine and the jacket to see if it seems a little off. So unfortunately, he was hoodwinked, I was hoodwinked, and it happens. I appreciate that he was willing to sell it to me for a good price for what he thought was legitimate, but we're returning it to the seller, who was either trying to scam people or had no idea himself. So Blonde is still eluding me. However, I was able to take another grail off my list, and that is Freelance Whale's Weathervanes. A whale grail. This is my white whale. My white freelance whales. So if you guys are watching my top 100 albums of all time series, you'll know that this fell somewhere on the list thus far. I love this record. It is one of the most underappreciated indie pop records of the 2000s, I would say. It is just fragile, beautiful melodies, really, really catchy, and just really emotional too. It reminds me a lot of Sufjan's stuff at times. There's one song that almost could be a Sufjan song, but this has been out of print for a very long time, and there's been no sign of the label repressing it. So I managed to see it pop up on Discogs for $60 shipped, and normally this goes for triple digits. So I could not resist. I will say it is not a near mint copy. It's probably VG plus, if I'm being generous. There are a couple tracks with a little bit of ticks and very minor surface noise, but honestly, it's not a detriment. I'm just happy to own this album. So if they ever do repress it, I'll upgrade. But for now, I have collected one of the grails on my list. And the second grail that I have that I don't physically have is another one that someone in the group helped me out with. They were at a record fair and they saw it, but I will not spoil that one. That will be in the B-side. It was going to be in this video, but he shipped it to me and it arrives tomorrow. So that is just fate saying that it should be in the next follow-up video. So 2 of the 7 grails knocked out in the first month. That bodes pretty well for the remainder of the year. So let's move on to all these records I want to show you guys that I got in, because I just have an onslaught to show you. I'm showcasing 2 labels that I really like, a couple one-offs, and then we'll do some Q&A after. If you guys want to have me answer any of your questions while I'm doing this section, all you have to do is super chat me. If you super chat me any amount, whether it's 50 cents or $5,000, I will stop what I'm doing and answer your question. But otherwise, we have to just plow through this for now. So the first thing I want to show off is this absolutely beautiful video game soundtrack. Gris, it's the French word for gray. I think that Gris, I'm not sure you can pronounce it. If it's actually Gris, I'm going to feel really stupid. But based on the vibe of this music, I want to believe this is Gris. I actually never played this game, but I did get a recommendation for the soundtrack, and I have to say I Am 8-Bit, which is one of the best labels doing video game soundtracks today, did a phenomenal job with this, from the packaging all the way through the music itself. The soundtrack is just this beautiful piano-heavy, ambient at times, but sometimes pretty poppy and aggressive. This is just a really, really solid record, and I'm really happy I own it. It stands alone without even having played the game. So I have this. This is the deluxe version, which has this unbelievably huge, beautiful gatefold. I mean, just look at this tapestry. I don't know why I haven't played the game yet, but this makes me want to play it real bad. But the discs are just on black vinyl, and that is fine, because all you need is this beautiful music. And look at that spine. Like, this is gonna stick out in my soundtrack section no matter what. So apparently Gris means pig in Swedish. I don't think that's what this is for. But yeah, this was a really, really good packaging job. I Am 8-Bit knocked it out of the park. And if you like piano music, or like, modern classical with a little bit of an ethereal twist, you have to check out this soundtrack. Let's keep going, though. What do we have next? We have a label that I would like to talk about called King Underground. So if you guys are hip-hop fans, not so much the mainstream stuff, like the trap stuff, whatever that may be. If you like kind of like boom bap, jazzy hip-hop from like the 90s and early 2000s, King Underground is a label you should probably put on your radar. I went a little crazy discovering the things that they put out. The first thing I want to show off is this. I'm usually against 45 collections, but for something like this felt really appropriate. Lewis Parker, the 45 collection. So Lewis Parker is an absolutely legendary producer from the UK. He also rapped a little bit, but his raps are not really what he's known for. It's more so when he creates beats for rappers that are significantly more talented. This is a collection of, it's 5 discs. There's 5 singles in here, and it's 5 of his most iconic singles. I think it's a total of 7 tracks, but he has done tracks for Ghostface Killah, amongst many others, and this is just a really well done, high quality audio box set. of all of his most probably essential singles of his career. I mean, it's excellent boom bappy stuff. You know, kind of it's like if Nas had better beats. That's like kind of what it feels like to me at times. And actually, funny enough, Lewis Parker was on Massive Attack's label, Melancholic, which was a small label that they were running back when they were kind of like in their prime. So if Massive Attack gives Lewis Parker the big ups, I think this is definitely worth checking out. We have a super chat from Ryan. I have to stop what I'm talking about with Lewis and answer this. So, have I ever pre-ordered an album only to receive it 2 months later and find myself less amped up because I listened to it on YouTube or Spotify? Yes, absolutely. I think that I try to listen to all new records when they come out on vinyl because I enjoy that experience of opening it, looking at the packaging, putting it on the turntable, taking time out of my day to actually listen to it in full, no distractions. But sometimes you get antsy. Sometimes you have to listen because the vinyl gets delayed or there is no record. And I feel like even if I pre-ordered it, I feel like if I've listened to it or over-listened to it sometimes, which does tend to happen, it takes away some of the magic. So I don't like long pre-orders, especially when the music's available. So hopefully that answers the question. Josie said 5 45s but 7 songs. Yeah, so some of these 45s have 2 tracks and some of them have 1 track with instrumentals. So I think that's how it breaks down. There's something strange, but this is awesome. Also from King Underground, a couple cool things. I love this record, guys. This is Yogisoul by Nights. Yogisoul is a beat maker, and he works with some of the best underground hip-hop artists. Someone I discovered through his music is A1. Apparently, A1 has been around for a very long time, making really good music, and all of his records are out of print and go for like $60 or more, so I really screwed up. What's going on with this focus? It really screwed up not picking those up. But Yogisoul, something about this, it's like spacey, jazzy hip-hop beats, awesome different cast of rappers and singers over it, and it has a little Tribe Called Quest feel to it. I don't want to quite say it's as good as New Job is, because it's not, but it gives me the same kind of vibe of just cultivating a sound and having a lot of collaborators over it that really work together. So Yogisoul, definitely recommend this. And then this record is wild. This is Crack, All For You. This is a smooth blend of funk, soul, and disco from 1980. The original pressing goes for hundreds of dollars. It is extremely sought after, and King Underground was able to do a awesome repress of it. Sounds terrific. This album single-handedly made me realize that I don't have enough funk or soul in my collection, and that's a huge bummer. I feel like I need to rectify that. I have a lot of modern stuff inspired by those genres, but going back to like the 70s, and my light just died. Really good quality, great quality light. So All For You it's wonderful. If you've been looking for some good funk and soul from the 80s in your life, I can't recommend this album enough. And the last thing I want to show you from King Underground is a really strange one. This one is definitely for the people that like kind of eccentricities, which is going to lead into the next records I'm going to show you anyway. We're about to dive down into some strange territory. But this is Torb the Roach and Floppy MacSpace, Square Wave Adventures. So ultimately what this is the soundtrack to an 8-bit video game that you can play for free online. Actually, it's pretty fun. You collect like floppy disks and shoot little aliens. But that's actually a picture of what the game kind of looks like. But it's just a lot of interesting, like classic, like drum breaks and drum machines and samples and synths. It almost has the vibe of like a Toe Jam and Earl kind of sound, a little less funky, a little more hip hop inspired. But this is a collaboration that Torb the Roach, who I guess is an MC that had a lot of acclaim back in the day. This is something that is worth checking out if you like kind of like laid back grooves that you can just put on in the background. I think this lives on its own without the game. So this is super cool too. Check this out. King Underground, I'm really digging your stuff. I am now going to be checking your store all the time for new releases. So check that out. Ryan says, I wish I got paid today. Wishing Mike was here. Listen, Ryan, you don't have to have Mike here to send some sweet super chats, man. Just saying. I'm just saying. So moving on, I have a couple records I want to show you guys from Needle Juice. So Needle Juice Records, I've been a fan of theirs since they burst on the scene with their release of Polygon and Wonderland by King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard. They did a phenomenal job, and then since then they've been putting out a lot of really good records, a lot of like quirky stuff, and some really excellent stuff. I ordered a couple, and they threw in a couple extras. I'm just going to show you guys what they are real fast. So right here we have the latest release from Neil Cicerega, aka Lemon Demon, and this is Nature Tapes. So it's kind of, he does these kind of like electro pop songs that are a little nerdy, a little quirky, but check this out. Look how beautiful that variant is. Like, oh, I love it. Love that. Love that for you. So that's cool. This one's actually really cool for me personally. This is TV's Kyle, Commodore Touchdown. Now, this is like very quirky. If you like Dr. Demento stuff, if you like Weird Al, if you like kind of stuff that's really goofy but still awesome, I actually know this guy. When I moved to LA, I worked at a really awesome comfort food cafe for about 3 years. This was many years ago, and Kyle and his girlfriend were regulars. They came in maybe 3 or 4 times a week because the food was so good and the atmosphere was very much like you get to know everyone who works there, and it was a very family. It was like Cheers. Kyle went on to create the Cartoon Network show Mighty Magiswords, and now he's gone on and has an album out on Needle Juice, which is a label I'm talking about right now. It's just like such a small world. But yeah, Kyle's stuff is really fun, really quirky. And of course, Needle Juice always comes through with the sweet variants. This is a nice blue with splatter. So congrats to Kyle to getting your music on vinyl. That's awesome. This is another cool one. This one is musically a bit of a stretch for me, but this art is just so good. This is progressive metal, a little psychedelic, as you can definitely tell from this art. This is Flummox Intellectual Hooliganism. So really nice gatefold in the middle. This is like very reminiscent of like Zordon a little bit in the corner. But this is another record that looks really cool with a nice splatter effect. It looks cooler in real life. It's hard to kind of show it in this, but it's really nice. If you like, prog metal, if you like psychedelic stuff, a little heavier, a little stranger, definitely check out Flummox. I also picked this up because I'm a big fan of Mega Ran. So Mega Ran is an underground rapper. He tends to do albums where he collaborates video game music with his rap skills, of which he has plenty. So this in particular is an album he did with MC Lars called the Dewey Decibel System. This is an album where it's inspired by a ton of famous poems and books and graphic novels to create the content, and it's awesome. I love the albums he did. Mega Ran did with Mega Man soundtrack, and he did some stuff with Final Fantasy VII soundtrack. But this is definitely a cool take. He's a very talented MC. I really enjoy what he does. And this one has another awesome splatter effect. It's like a white with black. Looks really good. And the final one from Needle Juice is the one I'm most excited to show you guys, because this is an artist that is very near and dear to my heart. This is Corp, Sunday Television. So I haven't talked about Vaporwave for what feels like a while on the channel, but this is unequivocally tied for my number one Vaporwave artist. The other one is Telepath. Sunday Television is exactly what it looks like. It feels like you're watching a demented, twisted weather program from the 80s, but it has the groovy, laid-back vibes that Corp has absolutely perfected. I love this, and of course, I love this. First of all, this blue and orange gradient is matched so perfectly with the half-split blue and orange record. Let me just put these up side by side. So cool. I love this. So I'm really liking that a lot of Vaporwave is coming to vinyl. I do love them on cassette, but ultimately having them on vinyl means I'll listen to them more. And Corp in particular, I'm hoping that we get a lot more of his releases. There's probably about 5 or 6 of them on vinyl as we speak. but I have like 20 tapes of his, so there's a lot more material to get through. Enzo Mavrides. All right, so that is that. What else do I have? Oh, more. I got more for you. Where is it? Where is it hiding? Where'd it go? Hold on. I had another record to show you guys, and it's disappeared on me. What the heck? This is so weird. I genuinely can't find it. This is what happens when you have too many records. Yeah, guys, I don't know where it is, but it was another Vaporwave record. It was Dan Mason's Hypnogogia. Hypnogogia? Man, I don't know where that went. This is so bizarre. Dan Mason is another Vaporwave artist. If you like George Clanton, I definitely recommend checking him out. Hypnogogia is his latest release, and I loved it. There's a track that reminded me of Shingo 2 rapping over New Job Is, and the rest of it is a very George Clanton slowed down 80s feel. Big fan of what he's doing. But let's talk about the other two things before I'm done showing stuff off. This is the most recent bootleg of Frank Ocean's Nostalgia Ultra. I know the cover just says Nostalgia. I'm not sure why. But previous pressings of this sounded terrible. Really noisy, lo-fi. Didn't really have a great soundstage, even for a bootleg. This one is an upgraded one that just came out. And the jacket is a little nicer. It has a good touch to it. It actually has a real spine, unlike the other one. And it sounds really good for a bootleg. This has some of his best songs, including Swim Good, Novocaine, Love Crime, Strawberry Swing, which is the Coldplay cover that he absolutely knocks out of the park. So there's that. And then the final thing I want to show you guys is a grail that I've knocked off my list. Prior to making my list of 7, this probably would have been on there. This is Lemon Jelly Lost Horizons. This is one of the best down-tempo electronic albums ever. It's really quirky. It's really beautiful. It's like overwhelmingly pleasurable to listen to. The sounds are like massaging your brain in the best way. And I got really lucky to find this for a pretty decent price, more than most people would pay, but still less than it goes for. And it has this massive gatefold showing off this world that they're creating with the music. All the ducks are swimming in the water, as you guys know, if you're fans. So this is just a really great record, and it hasn't had a repress in a very long time. I don't know why, but I own it, and I'm happy about it. So it sounds really, really good. So that's all the records I have to show you guys. There's gonna be an A-side soon, I think next week. So there's we'll do this again sooner than later, but let's do maybe like 2 minutes of Q&A, and then we'll call it for the day, and we can call that the B-side. So this is your last chance to get any really good super chats in, or just regular chats. I'm looking at all the things that I missed. I can't believe I lost that record. I was just listening to it today. Where could I have possibly put it? I'm so perplexed by this. I had it right behind me. Super weird. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, we can just end it. But okay, here we go. Any chance of Def Jam and Rock Nation releasing the recent Jay-Z and Kanye West albums on vinyl? I don't want to buy the bootleg versions. I would say that any Kanye that is not on vinyl is not going to get an official release. I just feel like he's not focused on his back catalog anymore, especially with his recent phase in his beliefs. So, I don't know. I wouldn't bank on it. Did I end up ordering Modal Soul? Yes, of course. I have a new job as Modal Soul on order from Bull Moose. Hopefully they come through and they don't cancel it last minute. I did pre-order Mac Miller's Circles. I have not listened to it yet, though. I admit I'm jumping on the hype beast train for that a little bit. I've never been a colossal Mac Miller fan. I like his stuff, but I'm not like a fan. So we will see. Do I know of Astral Industries? No, I'm not familiar. I'll have to check them out. Oh, Travis made it last minute. How is TMR Fest 2 planning coming along? Great question. I'm still trying to lock in the venue. Once I have the venue, everything starts to kind of snowball. And the venue, I was supposed to do a walkthrough of one this past week, and the person got sick who was going to show it to me. But I'm still on the hunt. Hopefully, soon I'll have an update about the actual day of TMR Fest 2, which would be rad. Favorite track on Lemon Jelly? How do I even decide that? The one that gets stuck in my head all the time is All the Ducks Are Swimming in the Water. I mean, that's just like, it's like infectious. But I love the whole album so much that I feel like when I put it on, I can't just pick a track. I gotta just play it all the way through. All right. I don't want to make this video too long because I feel like people are going to tune out after the content. So let's call it for the night. Thank you guys for coming and joining me on this B-side. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And there's lots more content coming soon. We got the rest of the top 100 video series coming out. And then a ton of travel this year. So I'll keep you guys posted on that very soon. Thank you guys for watching. Have an awesome weekend.